You know, the other day I was rifling around the back of the truck looking for something, moved a bag out of the way, and you know what dawned on me? I've never walked you guys through the survival kit I keep in my truck. Let's check it out. Okay, before we get into it, you guys are going to notice there's a couple things that are not in here. You're not going to see any first aid gear in here, and that's because inside my truck, my IFAK is mounted to the back of my headrest on a MOLLE webbing setup. Sits back there. It's just a tear off. It's there for easy convenience if I need it. These are two completely separate kits, so that is a freestanding, so you won't see first aid kit in here. You also won't see tools and things like that. So all that stuff stays in the toolbox back there. So you won't see this. This is purely just kind of the survival stuff that I rifle through and grab all the time. It's a nice day, so let's move outside. Had to bring Topo out here anyway and let her do a little playing around in the backyard. All right, so right out the gate, the bag that I'm using, this is the Maxpedition VersiPack. It is a messenger style sling bag. Just one single strap. It's got a big webbing, big zipper pouch on the back. There's a top pouch up here that we'll go through, a little thin front one up here, back here, pretty good sized pocket behind the front flap, one on the side, water bottle carrier on the side. There's a sleeve compartment back here in addition to the big bucket. There's webbing on the bottom for you to lash stuff to. This bag has quite literally rolled around in the back of my truck now for about 10 years. I know I've had it that long. I don't have a busted zipper. I don't have a busted seam. The only thing whatsoever I have ever done to this pack, I accidentally, with a spool tool that I use to keep my cordage together, I accidentally cut this string with getting the spool tool out. There's a razor blade on it, so I replaced it with paracord. Actually, I replaced this with Survivor, or that Titan cord stuff that has the wax jute and the fishing line and the snare wire and stuff all inside it. I actually just replaced that entire setup with that cordage. So I've got a couple feet of that in here too. All right, so I'm just gonna move the bag to the side over here, and let's just tackle the stuff that's on the outside. Stuff that I wanted readily available. Over here on this little pouch, this is the Kamanga tritium compass. I do constantly harp on actually knowing real land nav and not being dependent on electricity for everything. So I do keep a Kamanga compass out here. Love this thing. It's absolutely just indestructible. This compass stays on the outside of the pack because I'll reach for it quite often, and you'll also notice I've got the pace count beads up here. Moving up the side over here, I have a little UV glow stick up here. It's just one of these recharges by solar light, and I literally just tethered it to the side of the bag because quite honestly it makes it easier for me to find in the middle of the night if I have it in a shelter with me, or even just rifling around the back of the truck and I don't want to turn the lights on. So that's all this is up here. And then on this sleeve pouch up here, you'll notice I've got two cutting tools. Pull these out and we'll take a look at them. Okay, so first and foremost, got the Silky PocketBoy. This is the 170. It's not the biggest saw in the world. I do like that the blades are pretty easy to change out because I do have a tendency to snap the ends off these from time to time. Broken one or two of them over the years. But it does fit nicely down in this bag, and I like having a saw on me just for some of the bigger wood processing. My larger fixed blade knife, and this is not a big knife, but this is the ESEE PR4, the Camplore knife. From a bushcraft perspective, I love this little knife. It fits great in the hand, not overly big. I initially bought one for my child and just loved the knife, and then went back and bought one for myself too. This is for like small stuff, even like game processing or like notching, things like that. Not processing like huge wood with it, because it's not a chopper by any means. If I wanted that, I would use my SE5. But this little thing, it's a gamer. I love this knife. And it comes with a nice little leather sheath here. So moving on around over to the messenger strap, I do have a handheld ham radio in here. I don't even know which one this is. I've got 5 or 6 of those things. I have one on like every bag. So this pouch does not come with the Maxpedition VersiPack, but it does just thread through the webbing up here. Tethered over on the side over here, this is hands down my favorite flashlight. And that light would be the Nitecore SRT7 GT. This thing has a ton of different options, brightness. I think it goes up to about 1,000 lumens. It goes down to just a couple. It strobes. It does UV, which was a big deal for me. It does red. It does a green, a blue. There's a pulsing back and forth like the police strobe. Just has a ton of options. This flashlight I love. I use it all the time. I do carry an extra rechargeable battery for this inside my bag that we'll see in just a few minutes. It's in one of these pouches. And tethered down at the bottom through this webbing, and if you've ever watched any of my videos before, you may recognize this. This is the OneTigris Tentsformer. This is that poncho tent that you've seen in several of my videos, and I'll throw a link to that video down in the description below, where you take this poncho and actually it turns into a pretty serviceable little tent. And it's a long poncho. I'm not a short guy, so this thing comes down well below my knees and keeps me dry when I need to be. And I've just got it tethered on here with just these Night Eyes twist ties. So then moving around to the other side, pull off the Velcro. It's just a well-used, clean canteen. And then down inside of here, well, there's a couple leaves, but there's also another metal cup down inside there. Stays nice and secure. And you've probably noticed there's Velcro with patches and stuff all over. This bag's got a plethora of those things. I constantly change these things out from time to time. Just kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in. One of my favorite features of this bag is on the back of it. We all know that these messenger bags can get heavy, especially on one shoulder after a little while carrying them, especially if there's very much weight in them. This bag does actually come with a waist strap affixed to the back of it. I've got it pulled pretty short right now, but you know, if I'm carrying this bag very far, I'll pull this thing out, cinch it down on my waist, get the weight down onto my hips instead of on my shoulders. Much easier to carry. Okay, right here across the back, up at the top, there's a nice little drag handle up here. Makes it nice and easy and convenient to pick up. But you'll notice right in front of it is this huge zipper pouch. And inside here, right this moment, I've got a couple little pieces of cordage in here. But by and large, I leave this pouch empty because normally this is where my personal protection devices would go. Try to leave that open so that I'm not fighting for space in there if I'm not carrying it on my person, but more often than not it's in my person, but if in a pinch I need somewhere else, it goes in here. And then right here across this little top, almost like a pencil case, it's kind of small, and you guys will notice, nice big rugged zippers with easy pulls on them. Inside here, this is kind of my illumination pouch. So I have a little Goal Zero rechargeable light up here. It has a little flashlight function and then a lantern function. I use this more for the lantern than anything, but I do have a whistle tethered to this too, just in case I need to be signaling for help. And then inside here is my Nitecore NU25 headlamp. These things I really like. I've got several of them laying around in different bags. This is kind of my go-to for headlight. Got a couple clones and stuff of it I use quite often too, but I keep the Nitecore in here. And then aside from that, it's just a couple chem lights in here. So this whole pouch up here on the outside, which is easily accessible, it's all dedicated to just lighting. Now standing the bag back up, moving back up here to our little outside pouch on the outside here. Unhook this. A couple little odds and ends in here. It's pretty much all disposable stuff. There's a handful of hot hands. Actually, there's too many of those in here. I need to take some of those out. Just some little wisps in case I need those while we're out and about. Sometimes you kind of get there and you're just like, oh, I forgot my toothbrush. And then in here is where I also keep that extra battery for that Nitecore flashlight. And there are multiple warmers in here because some of them are hand warmers. So basically 2 sets of hand warmers and 2 sets of foot warmers. Now moving back over to the front of the bag and actually getting, let's go through the front pouch over here first before we get into here. Let's slide in here. This, like I said, this is a little narrow pouch up front. I keep a water key in here because you never know when you need water. Keep an extra charge cable for my phone. There's an extra antenna for my ham radio. And then aside from that, it's really just some little extra scraps of jute that I've picked up. And there's some business cards down in there too. I don't keep a whole lot up here just because it is such a flat, narrow pouch. But it works quite well for this little stuff. Now we can crack this open and get inside. I was almost getting ahead of myself there. Nice big thick buckle, it's adjustable. This flips up. Out on the front of it here, I've got a Leatherman. I don't remember which model this is. This is the Rev. So it's one of the more basic ones, obviously the pliers. There's a fixed blade, well not a fixed blade, there's a folding blade back here. I think on the other side, there's a couple little screwdrivers, all that fun stuff. Nothing overly fancy. Small stuff back here, bottle can openers, a bit of a punch. Nothing too fancy, but just a nice little multi-tool. So the only other thing I keep down in here is a Sharpie that I keep tucked into there. I like this stuff on the outside just in case I need to grab it pretty quickly. Now all of a sudden I'm looking around because the wind shifted and now I smell a skunk. So if you guys see me get sprayed out here, that'll probably make for really great viewing. Hopefully I can keep Topo from chasing skunks. Okay, now that we are back in the bag here, go through this little front pouch up here. I have got a Sawyer Mini with a little bit of duct tape rolled around it. It's a few feet of duct tape, extra pouch for it. This is actually a pouch from the Squeeze, but I don't like these pouches, but they do suffice in a pinch, so I usually keep it 1 or 2 of them around. I use the Work Sharp field sharpener for keeping my blades and stuff sharp while we're out in the field. Nothing too fancy, but I do like this. I like their system, especially their desktop benchtop system. I think it's awesome. I love it. So also inside here, I've got this compartment is for adventure wipes. This is the compressed toilet paper that once you get it wet, it leafs out into like big wet wipes. This little tube holds, I think, 10. Well, it says 10 on the outside, but you can squeeze an 11th one right there at the top. So you can make 11 work inside there. Have the small footprint UCO storm matches in here. I just had a handful of these things. I've got some redundant fire in here, but this is just a nice little safe, nice to have. Sorry, I had to go put Topo up. I think she was definitely after that skunk. I'll keep smelling it now. Down inside here, these are just some little candles that I make. My wife has those little Scentsy things around the house, and I'll take 1 or 2 of those when she's cleaning out the wax, and just take those little, it's almost like a cotton facial swab, but it's more of like a big hockey puck size thing. It's about half impregnated with wax. I can use it to tear the cardboard off the back of it, fluff this cotton out, and then set it on fire. And it makes for a nice little candle. These usually burn 5 or 6 minutes each. It makes lighting fires pretty easy. I don't want to always have to struggle and fight for those. I usually just toss a couple of them in a Ziploc bag. Then I have Write and Rain tablet, little grid square in the back. It's got all my notes and stuff in there. There's a ton of stuff in there, note-wise. Mostly all navigation stuff. There is a Write in the Rain pen back here with little space pens. And then inside this little bandana, I roll it out, is a signaling mirror. I just roll it up in the bandana to keep it from getting scratched up. And then that also gives me a bandana to use as well. So that kind of covers that big pouch. So all that's left really is the big bucket on top. And it just has a little pinch spreader up here. Opens this up. Nice big wide mouthed bucket up at the top. Let's see what's all in here. I always have a Shema with me outside. This isn't my favorite one, but definitely is serviceable. So that's in there, nice neutral color. I don't even remember where I got this thing from, but this is a little Celestron monocular, I guess it's called. I guess monocle would be the thing that the Monopoly man wears. So this is a monocular. I'm old. My eyesight's not as good as it was, even though I had LASIK a long time ago. So there are times that, quite honestly, I just need to pull that out and just see a little ways off. So I do keep that in there. A pair of Mechanix gloves right there. I don't remember the last time I even used those things, but not very often, but they're in there. I do keep one of the little SOL emergency bivvies, and as you can see, this one has definitely been well used. It's not that baseball size packaging that they normally come in, because I have slept in this thing quite a few times in a pinch. Keeps you warm-ish. Then continuing down through there, I have this little metal tin, little piece of shot cord on top of it. This is basically my fire kit. And there's a good bit of stuff in here. There's some jute that's in there. There's some more wax cotton. There's some shaved down fat wood. There's a little bellow, some more fat wood, a couple Bic lighters down in there. Cotton ball Vaseline, that type of thing. Just some little odds and ends. It is predominantly tinder that's in here, with a handful of ways to get stuff lit. Nothing overly extravagant, but mostly tinder. I'd rather, when I'm out and about, not have to struggle and fight to get my fire. So I would rather go ahead and have the tinder ready, so I know I've got something nice and dry that I'm working with. so I'm not having to struggle when the conditions are less than ideal. I just put those in this little tin because quite honestly it fit nicely into the pack. Continuing down in here, I've got one of these little Frog Tog chili pads. These that you wet and they'll help cool you off. This was a thin footprint one that's made predominantly to kind of go around your neckline and tuck down inside your shirt. It just stays in here too because it's not always cold when I'm out. I have got, this is the Batterix emergency backup power. It's a one-time use deal. You pull this thing open, it's about the same footprint as a credit card, and it's got hookups for the old school iPhones and also the C connectors up here as well. Once you pull those out, they start discharging and will charge your phone. It's a one-use item. You can't recharge those, but keep that squirreled away in there. And I do keep like an actual rechargeable battery pack plugged up in my truck that's there all the time. It's a 20,000 milliamp battery pack that is plugged into my truck through a USB cable that is underneath the front seat so that it's always topped off. So this is just a backup to it. Going in again, here's that spool tool I mentioned earlier. I just have a bunch of bank line around it. There's that razor blade down inside there that I accidentally used to cut that strap while getting it out one day. And it has a little spot to clip on your an extra mini Bic over here on the side too. This little thing's handy for keeping your cordage organized. And I picked this thing up a while back and it's been pretty handy. Also down in here, I have a 50 mil garbage bag, contractor bag, that's wrapped up with a night eyes. These things come in handy for all sorts of purposes, and I've slept in them, I've made bedding out of them, I've definitely made pillows out of them. Impromptu rain poncho, they come in handy for a lot of stuff. And then some wet wipes, full-size ferro rod, and I think that's everything that's in there. Yep, that's pretty much all of it. You know, is it the perfect kit? Absolutely not. Is it one that I have been using quite literally for years? Absolutely. It's served me well. I change out gear when I find better alternatives to it. It's evolved a lot, but it is a kit that I'm digging into for something. If not every week, usually every couple weeks, I'm in there pulling something out and using it. It's come in handy. It's worked for me, and I'm going to stick with it. And all this stuff is stuff that's pretty readily available. If you have questions about any of this gear or interested in any of it, I'll throw links down in the bottom. That's just through Amazon's little affiliate link, so it doesn't cost you anything, but there's a little extra pickup for me if you do purchase something through there. Hopefully you guys have found that beneficial and can picked up a couple nuggets here or there that you can put into play and use yourself. If you are out on the trail watching this video, as always, just remember, left foot, right foot, repeat. We'll see you out there soon.